Good morning to the One Loaf Kitchen. My name is Gigi Judy, and I'm going to show you how that one loaf of bread changed how I operate my kitchen, how we operate our family and our life. It really was just one loaf that we were able to make some small changes in our cooking processes and actually feeling better about feeding my family and actually saving money, and it's not as time consuming as I expected it to be. So my journey was, I've spoke before, I tried the sourdough route. That really just was too time consuming for me, so I kind of gave up on the process early on. Probably only gave it about 2 months and stopped making bread, and then decided I was going to try it again and do a simpler white bread. Just a simple change out to see how that would work. And I found a honey white bread that you can make 2 loaves, or you can make 4 loaves. You can make it customized to how big your family is. 2 loaves are great for me. I cook them both, and then I put one in the freezer for later in the week as needed. And what the ingredients are, for my perfection for the recipe, it calls either for 4 3/4 cups to 5 3/4 cups flour. For my recipe, my climate, my home, the flour that I'm using, 5 cups seems to be our sweet spot. 1 3/4 cup of warm water. It needs to be between 100 and 110. If it's too hot to put your baby in it, then it's too hot to be using to activate your 1 tablespoon of yeast. And it cannot be instant yeast in this recipe. And then there's also 1 egg, 3/4 cup butter, melted, and that is 4 tablespoons, and 1/4 cup honey. I get my honey local. Actually, I have a really good friend that actually has a bee farm, and we reap the benefits of using local honey. And then 2 1/4 teaspoons of salt. And again, I'm using broad flours, so I have 5 cups here. Going to try out, this will be my second time using my new mixer, and I'm going to see how this works making bread. So what we're going to do is you're going to take your 1 tablespoon of yeast, your 1/4 cup honey, and I always add a little bit of spray on it just so that it all comes out and you're not wasting anything. And then you're going to add your water. I'm going to give it a little swirl just to get it incorporated. And that's going to mix up the honey and the yeast. And we're going to have to wait 10 minutes for it to bloom so it gets nice and foamy. Anywhere between 7 to 10 minutes, depending on how cold your kitchen is. I live in Wisconsin, so it's still a little bit cold here. It was warm yesterday. I think it got up to 60. It's maybe high of 50 today. So I'm going to pause the video right now. Hi and welcome back. Since I'm new to this, I think I didn't pause the video, so it's going to have to be made in 2 parts since I've already started the process. But it's been about 8 minutes, and I double checked, and the yeast and water and honey are quite frothy. This is kind of what you're looking for, is the consistency. Foamy. Like I said, this channel is going to be a learning process. I'm way out of my comfort zone. And so the next thing is I scrambled up that one little egg a little bit. We're gonna put it in the bowl. The 1/4 cup of melted butter. Kind of got a little bit solidified while we were waiting. Should probably have heated it up a little bit more, but it'll work fine. So as you remember in the first video portion, I did say that this recipe calls for 4 3/4 cups to 5 3/4 cups flour. And you needed to adjust it to your sweet spot. Normally my sweet spot, like I said, is 5 cups. But since I'm using this new mixer that I haven't ever used to make this bread dough, I am going to start with 5 cups. I'm probably going to put about 4 in there. You should probably only put a cup in at a time until you get to the consistency of what you need for your recipe. You want it not super sticky, but just slightly sticky to the touch. And since this mixer says you can make 14 loaves of bread in it at a time, it's going to be quite interesting to see how this works. And then you're supposed to knead it for 7 minutes. Again, with this being a double dough hook, I don't know if I'm going to need to knead it for 7 minutes. So I'm going to turn on the mixer. Oops, and forgot to add the salt. Again, that's 2 1/4 teaspoons of salt. Okay, going to put it on 1 just to get it incorporated. It's coming together nicely. Definitely going to need my other cup of flour. I can already see that, but looking at this, probably should have taken the top off. I got such a big bowl here. You're going to want to knead anywhere between 5 and 7 minutes until your dough is just slightly sticky to the touch. I'm going to pause the video there. Hopefully this will work this time. Okay, welcome back. It's been about 5 minutes that I actually kneaded it with this mixer, and it is supposed to be sticky to the touch, which it is, but not overly sticky to your hands. Pulled away from the sides of the bowl quite well. This is our consistency that we're looking for. Now, you can either leave it in this bowl, which I would normally do, and let it rise covered either with a saran wrap and or actually you could probably use even this and cover and let it rise. I'm going to grease or oil a bowl a little bit with some olive oil and transfer it into there and let it rise for 45 minutes minimum, hour, or however long it takes for it to double in size depending on how warm your house is. So, going to just knead this into a little ball, a little bit better. And Ella, who's been outside all day, decided she wants to come in now. Plop it in, kind of let it all, sides get coated with the olive oil. And I'm covering mine with a tea towel, some kind of towel. I'm gonna put it on my counter and let it rise for at least an hour. And I will be back to show you what the product is. Hi and welcome back. Our dough has been rising for an hour and it has doubled in size. So the next step is to take 2 loaf pans, gently grease them, take some of your flour, and my favorite part, I'm going to show it on camera, is we're going to get out our aggressions and punch the dough down. And plop it onto our floured surface. And you can weigh these out. I just guesstimate because my rolls don't need to be perfect because I surely am not. And they're perfect for my family. And you can cut them into 2 mostly equal portions. And then we're going to want to kind of roll them out like a rectangle. And I'm going to roll them in. And keeping our seams together. Kind of shape it. Tuck it. Pretty sure one end is going to be a little bit heavier than the other because that's how it felt like when I rolled it up, but hopefully it won't be too big, too much of a difference. Just means one end of the bread's going to be a little bit longer. And then toss it into your bread pan for a second rise. Now we're going to do the second loaf. Maybe I'll get this one a little bit better, even for consistency. And roll that one up on itself again. Pinching the ends and seams together as you go. And plop that one into the second one. These will rise again for another 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how long you want. You can go longer till they're just about up to the tops. We're gonna check back in 30 minutes. Thanks for watching. Hi and welcome back. It's been 40 minutes since I left our 2 loaves of honey white to be proof for the second time, and they're ready for the oven. I actually should have told you to heat your oven at, preheat your oven at 350, which I did ahead of time. But these are looking gorgeous and ready for the oven. The recipe calls for baking between 29 and 32 minutes. Again, my sweet spot is usually 30 minutes, and then I kind of judge it from there. You don't want your bread to be burnt, but you also want it to be cooked in the middle. You kind of got to tap on it to see if you hear that hollow sound, and then it should be done. I will check back with you and let you know for the final results. Thank you. So we're back with our finished product, and as I said, I would let you know exactly how long I cooked them in the oven, and for mine it was 30 minutes exactly. So again, it's anywhere between 29 and 32 minutes, and they came out perfect. You can hear the hollowness. This is what the loaf looks like. And the second loaf. What I like to do is, they need to cool on the cooling rack. But in the meantime, I'm gonna put a little bit of butter on them. Just for extra deliciousness. This isn't something you have to do, but I just like to do it. They're plain, it's good just plain. And then also, this is optional, put that on there, is putting a little bit of salt on them. Again, totally optional. They do need to cool down before you cut into them, just like any bread, as much as you really, really want to cut into them. As soon as they come out of the oven, they still got to cook a little bit inside. I would suggest at least an hour on the cooling rack. And you have your sandwich bread, honey white. 2 loaves, one for now and one to put in the freezer. I usually just put them in a Ziploc big gallon bag or one of those bags that are freezer safe, and put it in the oven. Sorry, not in the oven again. Put it in the freezer, and they come out perfect with the defrosting. I wouldn't suggest vacuum sealing them. As I said, I'm going to share my mistakes that I've made along the way, and one of those was like, oh, I got my vacuum sealer. I'm gonna, make bread, and gonna vacuum seal it. Well, it got a little bit too flat. Ended up making homemade breadcrumbs with that. So no waste. If you are interested in any of these videos, today I also explained how this is my journey of learning how to do new things. Not that this is new, but this is spaghetti sauce with short ribs that's been cooking all day. And if you want to, I can surely show you how to make that. And while I was waiting in between, I had some potatoes that were starting to get a little more mushy than I wanted, about 3 pounds. So I peeled those up, and I am canning those for later. Again, something totally that was out of my comfort zone of learning how to do. Didn't take very much time. In fact, I was doing it in between my processes for the bread. Please share and like this video, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks, and have a great day.